This is Teresa with the Kingdom Mentor Podcast. Now, this is a podcast for people like you who want to find your voice to go forward in your purpose. I'll be giving you some of my best solutions along with advice from my guests. We're going to help you move away from the drama, the trauma, be healed to win the shame game, and whether in your personal life or in your marketplace, to walk from your true identity. So grab a cup of coffee and let's talk about you in the sweet spot. Teresa Croft with you, Kingdom Mentor Podcast, episode number 103, as we talk about finding your voice, sharing your voice, and marketing your voice. Why am I so passionate about this voice thing? Well, it has everything to do with your identity and finding that solid foundation of knowing who you are to go forward. And I thought I would revisit some thoughts about your voice, about finding your voice. And what really spurred this on was a precious call from London in the Kingdom Mentor Academy, Redeem Your Voice Camp. Talking with a member, and I always say, what do you need? What's going on? What's on your heart? And she just really reiterated she wants to know more about her voice. She wants to revisit the House of Wine. And you may think, House of Wine? Now, Teresa, what are you talking about? So just real basic as we begin, and we're going into another month of a new year, I thought I would revisit the thought of finding your voice. Now, I truly believe your voice represents your core identity. It's directly linked to the core of who you are, linked to heaven, based on who God says you are in the Word of God. So I thought I'd revisit this by revisiting a vine dresser word, about the House of Wine. And I want to give you a little backstory of this. I have the Redeem Your Voice camp. And one day I was just laying my heart bare before God underneath my blanket saying, God, I would love to know what is the key to finding your voice. And it's really interesting because he told me to pick up this release of Song of Songs from the Passion Translation. It was back in the day when they released them just as single editions, just one little single booklet. This was the second edition of the Passion Translation. And so I was reading chapter 1, this was awesome. I saw the jelly stains and coffee marks and underlying notes of where I'd read chapter 1. And then I got, with great anticipation, I flipped the page to chapter 2. And then I felt like the Holy Spirit said, Teresa, the key to unlock your voice is found in my House of Wine. In my heart, it'd be like I became gripped with excitement. You know how you get that way where you're just like, and I think I spilled my coffee again. But this is the verses 4 and 5, Song of Song, chapter 2, verses 4 through 5. See, I get excited talking to you about it. And this is what the second edition read. Suddenly, he transported me into his house of wine. I see his unfurled banner of victory covering me with his unrelenting love divine. Revive me with your goblets of wine. Refresh me again with your sweet promises. So he transported me into his house of wine, covering me with his unrelenting love divine. I felt like this was like an answer for those who have been like laser hit. Maybe it's rejection, maybe it's wounds, maybe it's shame that has totally stifled your voice. Do you feel like you have a voice? Let me ask you that. And do you feel at times you don't have a voice, like something's coming in and it just seems like you don't know if it's trauma or it's shame, you just feel like you don't have a voice, or you don't really know who you are. It's a terrible place to be. That's one reason why I'm so passionate with the Redeem Your Voice camp, to share these keys. But I want to share one with you that I think is the foundation of finding your voice. And that is you being found in the House of Wine. So I continue to soak in these verses. And I realize that it's like in the House of Wine, it's a place you can be renewed, cleansed, empowered to rise up in your identity. It's like in his presence, fear is replaced with a robe of peace. Here is a true place of healing and acceptance. The rejection you may feel is a test, But the love and approval of the Father becomes healing in the wine, like a soothing balm, which not only takes the sting away, but makes the wound whole. Guess what? This can all be found in your Father's house. The house of wine is a place of righteousness, joy, and peace. It's a place where you can be inebriated with his fine wine of love. And then guess what? You get to take the house of wine wherever you go. It's not just like one place, oh, this is my quiet time, I'm going to be in the house of wine. No, you get to go up from there. You get to carry that house of wine and visit often throughout the day. And then you be able to, so full of it that someone bumps into you, they're going to get splashed with the love of Jesus. It doesn't mean necessarily you're going to say, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It just may mean a kind smile. It just might mean telling the grocery lady you love her little button or you love her smile. Nothing fake. It's just so bubbling out of you. So out came this vine dresser word in a declaration. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let the vine dresser speak to you. And you're like, vine dresser? That's how God has spoken to me for over 9 years. 3 devotionals later, I have listened to the vine dresser. If you want to check that out on Amazon, just go listen to the vine dresser. I have a new book. It's called Secrets to Unlock Your Voice. And it's all based with lots of vine dresser words about having to do with your voice. Because if you're listening right now, I believe that someone is waiting for your voice to rise up, because in your voice is breakthrough. Your voice represents the course you're creating right now. For someone else, your voice creates the very atmosphere you shift in your own home as a mom. Some of you are in the marketplace, and your very presence with your voice, with your identity, is a place where you're shifting atmospheres amongst the influencers of the marketplace. Maybe you're in ministry. Despise not small beginnings, but your voice is unlocking in yourself that in turn is unlocking other people that you minister to. They're finding their identity. They're winning the shame game. They're getting over the trauma, because you understand your voice and you understand your identity. When it's all said and done, you know that it comes from that secret place, and you know it comes from the Father's love and acceptance on you. If you want just to make your own declarations on your identity, go to Ephesians 1 and 2. I've been telling the ladies and men for months, okay, you want to relive, let's remake those dedications of our identity, of our voice, of who we are. Let's make note cards and write them out, verses chapters 1 and 2 of Ephesians, and then throughout the Word. I have a stack of my declarations. They're not at my table right now, but that was the core that helped me get to a place where I could find my voice and then rise up in the designs and frequencies of heaven that God lined in me to be able to help people find their voice, share their voice, and even market their voice. So I'm going to end this. I want to keep this kind of rather short. God bless you. Someone just sneezed. So this is the deal. I'm always at home, so life happens. I'm not going to stop life to talk to you. I think you'll get that. That's cool. I had my husband's noise of the kitchen in the last one, and I'm like, I'm not going to get agitated. This is life. If you were to come over, and this is the way I like to look at it, we're just having a cup of coffee together. And one thing, okay, if we're having a cup of coffee together, I may not necessarily read a vine dresser word for you, but I did the other day. All the way to London, one of our members of the Kingdom Mentor Academy, we had a meetup, and we both drank tea. And then I read this declaration, and it so hit her again that I thought, let's get to the basics in this podcast. Let's talk about you. Before I say this vine dresser word, I want you to imagine that it is your vine dresser. He's going up and down the rows of your heart. If he sees a branch, Jesus is the vine, we are the branches. If he sees a branch down on the ground, he's not going to stomp on it. He's going to pick it lovingly up off the dirt where the rain had hit. Now it's full of mud. He's going to wash you. He's going to wash that vine and set it back on the trellis facing the sun. He's going to pick you up and set you back. He's going to pick up the pieces. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He's going to pick you up. Pruning is not about punishment. Pruning is about progress. He knows when to prune you. He knows when to lovingly care for you. He knows when it's time for grapes and it's time to be crushed and fermented. That's not the point. But do you see, you're in the hand. It is the point eventually. This is your voice in the hands of the vine dresser. Now we start with a declaration. So I'm going to go slow. I want you to declare after me. Will you do that? Okay, the person next to you might think you're weird, but it's okay, or the driver. But hey, you're going to make this declaration because you have a voice and you're ready to unlock that voice. Here's the declaration. The war on my voice is over. Go ahead, say it. I have been embraced by your grace amidst the crush. I am covered under your banner of love for me. The victory has been secured on the cross. And now I rest in the house of wine. And I say to you, it's not my voice, but the voice of your vine dresser. It just happens to be coming through my voice. Listen to the vine dresser. My child, the season of broken barrenness and echoing darkness of your voice is over. Is over. I am near to heal the ravished places of your heart and bring you into my presence, which drips with an anointed salve to heal and make you whole. Your voice is my gift to you. I have connected the hum of heaven in you with the very cadence of my heart. Just as the birds continuously sing praises to me with their chirps and songs in the early morning, so I have fused you to my voice, so you can bring the sound of heaven to those around you. You are not stuck. Your lips do not have to be so attached to pain and shame that you cannot speak. It's time to release the brilliance I have deposited in your very DNA. This is the vine dresser, goes on to say to you, listen, child, lean into my embrace of grace. I have left the door wide open for you so you may boldly enter into my house of wine, the house of wine. This is the place, inside the vineyard of your heart, where I pour the bountiful wine of my love into your open glass, your open heart. Drink, child. Drink and be refreshed by my magnificent and precious promises, which are yes and amen. The wine satisfies every ache of your soul as you drink in my unrelenting love, divine. Then, this is an important part. The vine dresser is saying this. He says, listen to this. He says, in my house of wine, child, performance is left outside the door. I gotta say that again. In my house of wine, performance is left outside the door. Here I wrap you with a royal robe that has a more refreshing scent than clothes from your dryer with a double dose of a liquid fabric softener. Yeah, you are clothed with the warmth of my presence and engulfed with a peace so deep. The vine dresser goes on to say, you, my dear one, may visit often my beloved, and drink. What you will discover is an endless supply of this exotic wine to serve others as it overflows out of you. This is your voice, flowing with the thrilling vibrations of hope and help for others. Inside your voice, I imbue you with extra to what you think is ordinary. This becomes the very solution to the deep trauma cuts in others. Listen. To a world full of strife and unrest, your extraordinary words contained a kindness with authority from the sweet wine of my house of wine inside of you. You have a voice. You have a message. You have a testimony of breakthrough to release my children who have been chained by trespass, abuse, and the enemy's game of shame. Invite them into the house of wine flowing inside of you. Then show them how they can wine and dine with the vine dresser of their hearts. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? It's the sound of my children's voices. It's the sound of doves singing, bringing in the new seasons. It's the song of the redeemed rising and filling the valleys of lost dreams and dry bones. Your redeemed voice is bringing many to my house of wine. And when it's all said and done, your love, your voice back to me, says the vine dresser, is the finest of all wine as you are connected to the vine. The secret? Always say no to striving and yes to abiding in my house, the house of wine. Love the vine dresser. So if that resonates with you, that's your word. Play it over again and go back to the start and say, wait, I need to hear my vine dresser. I need to hear that I have a voice. I need to hear that my voice is not locked up in the chain of shame, that my voice is not stuck. I'm just saying that to you. I'm just making declarations over you as we end this. Your voice is a gift. You're connected to the hum of heaven. You carry the very cadence of God's heart. You are enough. You are valuable. Your dreams are not dead. No matter how you may feel in the dead of summer, in the dead of winter, wherever you're listening to this. So, just going to leave you with that. If this blessed you, write me a review. Share it with a friend. Maybe you know a friend who's her voice or his voice has just been snarkled by all the drama that they've been through. Share it, write a review. I love to hear from you. And I pray, I really do pray that God would just re-release that igniting, that He's turned the tide, that this is the year of catching that tide and riding the waves, and you're knowing that you're not stuck. You're riding the greatest wave with the thrilling vibrations of Him alive in your heart through your identity that brings the very foundation to go forward in those dreams. Find your voice. Share your voice. Even market your voice. You can, because you are found in the house of wine. All right, I'll talk to you in the next podcast, in the next episode. And you know it, I really do love you. Share this with a friend if you get a chance. And we're always so honored when you join us for the Kingdom Mentor Podcast. Hey, do me a favor and leave a review or share it with a friend. Hey, you can also catch this podcast not only on Apple Podcasts, but on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and if you have an Android, on the Stitcher app. I'll catch you in the next podcast. Until then, you know it, I really do love you.